couple dances energetically. They look at each other with joy until the movie ends, leaving them both staring at the horizon. Watching that scene from her seat is Erin. She immediately applauds, gets up, and leaves the theater. As she walks, she reflects that since the film was re-released, she watched it again without much thought. After all, to her, good movies remain good, even if you've already seen them. In front of the movie posters, she wonders what she'll watch next. She questions whether she should pick something lively and whether she'll need background knowledge to understand it. After a few seconds, she concludes she'll just watch it. That's why she likes hanging around the cinema. Her favorite pastime is spending the day there, watching movies at random depending on the schedule. Outside, the rain is pouring. Arin smokes a cigarette and watches the waterfall. She tells herself it's raining a lot, which reminds her of the film she just watched. She thinks the scene where the film shifts from silent to musical was truly fantastic. She concludes that the music and tap dancing were incredible, and ending with the actor's breathless expression was a brilliant touch. She remembers it was the second time she had seen that movie, but wonders why it felt so unfamiliar. Maybe she didn't pay close enough attention the first time? She also thinks that over time, she's forgotten the scenes she liked most. Just then, she sees a couple talking about the movie. It sparks a memory, a distant scene where someone once asked her what she thought about the film. It was Ye-woon, standing in front of her with an umbrella in hand. He said he found it fun. Erin replied that everything was fun to him. He denied it, saying it really was fun. Then, curious, she asked him what scene he liked best. He answered, "The last one." The blonde, with a playful smile, accused him of having slept through the whole movie and only watching the end. Ye-woon laughed, denying the accusation. Arin admitted that she also liked the final scene, that it felt like a perfect ending to the film. But that memory is brief. Suddenly, she's back in the present and wonders why she's thinking about the past with that idiot. As she takes out another cigarette, she mutters to herself that he was right. There's no point in saying those things anymore. Because she didn't give her heart to Ye-woon, she rejected him, and it was all her fault. As she reflects, she realizes the rain won't stop. She checks her phone and wonders if it will rain all night, but looking at the screen, she concludes it's already late. She decides to watch the rain fall until it passes. Another day, at the Napgoldang, the place where ashes are stored after cremation, a woman calmly walks in. Upon arriving at her destination, she meets someone. The woman asks if she is Arun. The young woman turns around, looks at her, and greets her with a smile, recognizing her as Jisoo's mother. The lady is happy to see her. She says she looks more beautiful, almost didn't recognize her. Arun apologizes for not calling her lately. The woman sweetly replies that she must be busy and adds that she really does look like someone famous. Arun smiles and thanks. The woman looks at the glass where there's a candy stuck and asks if she's the one who leaves those candies every year. Arin laughs and says yes, something like that. Jisoo's mother warns her that it's against cemetery rules and that she always struggles to remove them. Arun says that Jisoo loved them and used to eat them loudly in literature class. The lady, with a sad smile, replies that now there's no one left to eat them. They both stay silent for a few seconds. Then Arin asks if she wants to go out for a smoke. The woman agrees, and they leave the hall to sit under a tree. After a while in silence, the woman asks her not to come anymore after this year. Arin, surprised, asks why. The lady explains that only the two of them still visit Jisoo and that she'll soon move to another region. At her age, it's hard to come. Arun offers to visit her at her home, but the woman says it's not necessary, that she now lives with her new husband. Arun asks if she's serious. The woman laughs and says it was just a joke. Then she gets up and asks her not to come anymore, to think of Jisoo once a year during this time. She reminds her that candies are not meant to be stuck or tossed, but to be eaten, chewed, or swallowed. She tells her not to obsess over Jisoo's absence and to live with the happy memories she has of her. She confesses that she tries to do the same, but every year her heart aches because of the stuck candies she finds. Before leaving, she gives Arin a piece of advice: to stop smoking. She says that with such a pretty face, she should only smoke when she's older, like her. She says goodbye, thanking her for visiting Jisoo every year. Alone again, Arin reflects that she didn't know candies would remind her so much of her absence. She confesses that her way of acting always ends up hurting someone. Meanwhile, at the cafe where Yoon works, he hands a blue lemonade to a customer. Just as he's about to return to the counter, someone says they want to order something. He turns around with a friendly smile and asks what they'd like. He freezes when he sees it's Arin. She greets him with a smile. With a slightly annoyed tone, he asks if she wants hot chocolate. Arin nods and says this time it's to go. He confirms the order and says he'll let her know when it's ready. As he walks away, he wonders if something strange is going on today. Maybe she got fired from the company? Still, he doesn't think much of it and starts preparing the order. Then Arin tells him that she recently watched that black and white movie they had seen together. She says she'd seen it before, but this time she liked it even more. She noticed details she hadn't before, like the symbolism and staging. She reminds him how much she loved that film, and still does. Yoon, hesitant, asks which film she means. Then he responds excitedly, "It's the one that transitions from silent to sound cinema." Arin is surprised he remembers, and says it was re-released recently, and asks him to go see it when he has time. Watching it in the cinema is much better. He protests, saying he doesn't have time for movies, that he's too busy preparing to find a job and doing temp work. Arun smiles and says that at least today, he seems to have time to listen to her. He replies that if that's the case, he'll end up arguing with her again. She laughs and asks not to do that, saying goodbye and that she'll come back another day. Yoon, for his part, tells her not to come back. That night, Arin brushes her teeth, throws herself into bed, and gets ready to sleep. She remembers she should have had her last cigarette before brushing her teeth, but forgot. She knows she has to go down to the ground floor to smoke. Building rules. Plus, she rented a room on a high floor for the view, but the downside is all the stairs. Also, she'd have to brush her teeth again. She thinks if she doesn't smoke now, she'll surely wake up wanting one. She decides to have a quick smoke and then sleep like a log. While searching her bag, she finds a lollipop. It reminds her of her friend, and she wonders what's so special about that candy. She unwraps it and reflects on how a movie can be re-released and still be just as good. Great story, great acting, memorable music. Nothing has changed. She looks at the lollipop and thinks it's grape-flavored. In the end, she concludes that she simply realized the movie had many more good things than she remembered. And she asks herself one last question, in a whisper, as the lollipop's flavor fills her mouth. Should she stop smoking? In the music studio, Haeun's uncle is cleaning the place. When he finishes, he tells his niece that he has completed the task and suggests going home. But the young woman is focused, listening to what she has been working on. Her uncle calls her again and asks if she doesn't plan to return. Realizing the question, she replies wanting to know if she can stay overnight at the studio, since she believes that if she advances a bit more with the mix, she will soon finish her song. Her uncle asks if she is working on something external with a deadline, but the girl denies it, explaining that it is her new composition, recorded a few days ago. She says that the bass is already ready, and she just wants to adjust the balance of the details. The music sounds calm, and after listening for a moment, her uncle questions if she plans to stay working all night. Haeun answers that no. She thinks 1 or 2 hours will be enough, and she wants to take advantage now that she feels inspired. Her uncle understands her intentions and tells her that he will set up a folding bed in room A. She thanks him. After doing so, he returns and asks if she is going to release another single. The young woman confirms. Then he suggests why not try an extended play. Something longer than a single but shorter than an album. She questions the idea, arguing that in a band like hers, without live performances, it is better to keep releasing singles. Moreover, if they recorded an extended play, the preparation time would be much longer, and the opportunities to go public would decrease. The uncle admits that it is not a bad strategy, but reminds her that next month her collaboration song will be released, so she will have a margin.
Therefore, this time she could take her time and release an extended play that properly showcases her style, since releasing many singles in a row does not guarantee standing out more. The girl acknowledges that she has several demos accumulated, among them experimental songs she has always wanted to try. She admits that she will think about it, as she has not yet decided when to release something like that. Her uncle, upon hearing her, comments that since the response to Blue Kite was good, there is no need to rush. He watches her work in silence. Finally, he decides that he will also stay overnight there, as he does not want to leave her alone. He reflects that her ability to compose improves more and more. Before, he felt she was very closed in her own world, but now, it is as if that world overflows and soaks whoever listens to her. He confesses to himself that he does not know if she will have commercial success, but if she keeps growing like this, she will undoubtedly be a great musician. While playing and losing a match, he gets upset, stating that the game is definitely the one at fault, wondering how he, being a musician, cannot pass a rhythm game. The next day, at Yeowon's university, he is focused on studying. He thinks that the preliminary questions for the interview are not difficult, but in cases like this, the choice of words can greatly change the impression, so he must prepare well and have his objectives clear. It is then that the bell rings. He remembers that today the festival was starting, and that is why there were not many people in the library. He looks at his cell phone and thinks that he still has time before work, so maybe he will take a walk to see how the event is going, since it will be his last festival. Outside, he sees many students. While looking at a flyer, he reflects that even if it is a festival, every year it is almost the same, so it does not excite him much. His faculty, for example, seems to repeat the same bar as always. Then he notices an announcement. The band Idiot Dot, formed by Haeun's friends, will be playing there. If it were not for his job, he would stay to see them. Suddenly, someone calls him. Turning around, he sees that it is the basketball club guys. He greets them and asks if the festival preparations are going well, but before getting an answer, the guys grab him and take him, making Yeowon ask what they are doing. Then, without knowing how, he is already with a ball in sports clothes. One of them asks him to help for just 10 minutes, explaining that the person in charge for the day got food poisoning and they are short-staffed, so much so that they have not even been able to eat. Yeowon asks what it is about, and they explain that it is a free throw contest against the visitors. You have to shoot 5 times, and whoever scores more wins. If the visitor wins, they receive a festival coupon. The guys walk away saying that they are counting on him and that they will bring him something to eat. Yeowon, to himself, thinks that if they are hungry, they should close the booth for a moment and go eat. At that moment, some visitors approach to participate. Yeowon explains that they just have to pay the registration fee. Observing them, he thinks that they are probably a first-year couple and that this is their first university festival. He decides to give them a good memory, becoming strangely enthusiastic. After winning, he celebrates like a complete villain and reflects that this is more fun than he thought. Encouraged, he asks who is next, assuring that he will crush them one by one. And he seems to fulfill it, as he gives no chance to anyone. After each victory, he thanks them for participating. He thinks that it has been a while since he played basketball, but that he has not lost his touch. The feeling of scoring is just too good. At that moment, someone asks if they can also try. He answers yes, that they just have to pay the registration, but upon looking, he realizes that it is Haeun. Surprised, he asks what she is doing there. She explains that Ki-hoon forgot to bring the equipment, and she decided to take it to him, since he is playing there today. She also took the opportunity to see the festival at his university. Yeowon suggests walking around the campus together before his work, but she replies that she will not be able to stay long because she left the studio alone, and after delivering the equipment, she will leave. Then she suggests they compete in free throws, and whoever loses buys the other whatever snack they want. The young man accepts the bet and comments that he just happened to be a bit hungry. But before starting, Hain asks to throw from closer because she is a beginner. The young man agrees to give her that advantage.
The girl smiles and asks him to throw first, saying that from there she will check if he steps on the line. Yewoon asks if she really wants to stay there, warning that if the ball bounces, it could hurt her. She assures that if it goes into the basket, nothing will happen. Somewhat confused, he warns her that if she gets hurt, it will not be his fault, to which she nods. Yewoon thinks she is probably doing it to annoy and distract him, but he decides not to hold back and starts playing. Meanwhile, a certain blonde enjoys something sweet and comments that it gives her energy. Then, she wonders if Yewoon is still at the university. After Yewoon, it was Hain's turn. She prepared herself with determination, and after a brief moment of silence, threw the basketball. The ball traced a perfect arc in the air before falling into the hoop with total precision. She raised her arms in joy and celebrated out loud, proclaiming it had been a goal. The young man, surprised, couldn't help but admit that it caught him off guard. With a faint smile, he told her that, after all, she didn't seem to know much about sports. Then Hain replied that she had done very well since she had scored cleanly. Yewoon, amused, reminded her that she had only managed it once, while the other 3 attempts hadn't even brushed the rim. The 4th time, he recalled with laughter, the ball barely bounced, and she herself screamed, which made him burst into laughter. Offended by the teasing, Hain threw the ball at him with slight annoyance and told him he must surely be very happy for winning. That only made Yewoon's laughter intensify. Then, almost as a defense, she added that in school she used to get good grades in physical education, but that she was a bit rusty because it had been a long time since she last played. Her words, however, faded into the air as she averted her gaze. A shadow of melancholy appeared on her face. The young man, watching her, sensed the sadness hidden behind that expression. At that moment, a friend appeared and called him. He was carrying several bags of food. Curious, Yewoon asked why he had bought so much. The friend replied that he had asked someone very busy for a favor and wanted at least to repay him in that way. The young man thanked him for the gesture, though he confessed it was too much. Then he looked at Hain and, handing her one of the bags, gently asked if she wanted to eat with him. She accepted with a shy smile, and upon hearing the scene, the basketball friends began to tease them, which led Yewoon to ask, laughing, what was wrong with them. Later, in a more secluded place, they shared the food together. Hain looked at him with curiosity and asked if he had been a basketball player in college. He calmly shook his head. He hadn't been a player, but a member of the club, which he joined simply to pass the time in his free hours. Hain, with a hint of playfulness, commented that surely many girls must have been attracted to him, being a sports guy. But Yewoon replied honestly that it wasn't like that in fact, there were only boys in the club, and besides, those groups weren't very popular, since they were considered useless when it came to finding a job. She nodded silently, understanding, before asking if he also helped prepare food at the festivals. He smiled and recounted how, in his first year, he had worked at the faculty bar. He remembered with laughter the time someone suggested selling barbecue. He had to spend 3 days and 2 nights in front of the fire, thinking he would end up reduced to ashes. Hain laughed with him, though she still commented that it must have been exhausting. Yewoon admitted it, but also recalled the pleasant moments, the midnight roasted potatoes, the cold that forced them to huddle for warmth, and those little joys that become etched in memory. She looked at him in silence, until her lips spoke a question filled with tenderness, whether he would miss those moments when he graduated. Yewoon lowered his gaze and, after a pause, admitted that he would. However, he added that it was inevitable, that everyone had to graduate at some point. He explained, almost with a hint of resignation, that he couldn't prolong his studies any further, since the tuition was too expensive. Hain laughed softly and said that was quite a realistic reason. Suddenly, the sound of a cell phone broke the atmosphere. It was Hain's alarm, reminding her that she had to leave for a sound check. She stood up, explained that she had to go, and asked if he would be working that day as well. The young man replied that he still had time, that he would just say goodbye to the club guys before leaving. She nodded with a faint smile and wished him to enjoy a little more before bidding him farewell. Once alone, Yewoon let out a deep sigh. Looking at the horizon, he confessed that a knot formed in his stomach. as the thought that his university life was coming to an end pierced him with a bitter pang. He thought that once graduated, there would be no excuses or escapes. Responsibilities would inevitably catch up to him. In a low voice, almost like a secret confessed to the wind, he murmured that he didn't want to graduate. Then, a familiar voice interrupted his thoughts, saying that if that was the case, the best thing was not to do it. The young man was startled and turned abruptly, asking Aaron what she was doing there. The blonde girl smiled naturally. She explained that she had left work early, and passing by that place, memories had pushed her to come closer. Besides, there was a festival that day. Yeowoon looked at her with some disbelief and commented that, after all, those who worked could have fun whenever they wanted. Arun nodded, though she added that nothing was like student days, when there were vacations, outings, and parties. He looked at her ironically and reminded her that even then she hadn't taken part in festivals or trips. That made her laugh and admit it was true. She sat near him, and with a more serious tone, asked how he was progressing with his job preparation, aware of how difficult it was to find internships nowadays. Yeowoon replied that he was fine and asked her not to worry. Arun laughed softly and said she was glad, since she knew he was as capable as she was, and she was sure he would do well. Then, with her gaze lost on the horizon, she whispered that, since fate had made them meet, she wanted to tell him something serious. He, confused, frowned and asked what she meant. Arun looked him straight in the eyes and confessed that she wanted to apologize. Yeowoon sighed and reminded her that he had already told her before that everything was in the past, that he no longer felt anything, and that it wasn't necessary for her to apologize. But she insisted. She knew it was late. She knew those words would only serve to ease herself, but even so, she needed to clear her feelings. Yeowoon gazed at her for a few seconds. He reflected that all she wanted was to vent to feel better, and he thought it was cruel, since she had never really considered him. And yet, he also thought that he was a fool, because not even in that moment could he show himself cold or ruthless. He wondered if he should pretend to be busy and run away, but soon he answered himself that no, that he had to take the opportunity to face what was left pending and, as his superior used to say, clear things up. Perhaps that meant finally breaking that ambiguous relationship that kept them tied to the past. So he looked at her and, with serenity, asked her to speak, assuring her that he would listen. Arun lowered her gaze for a moment, took a breath, and finally confessed that she liked him. Silence fell like a veil between them. Their eyes met, and Yeowoon, incredulous, thought it was another one of her cruel jokes. But her eyes shone with an unfamiliar seriousness, a clarity he had never seen before. It was a sincere and determined confession, imbued both with the fear of losing him and the desire to finally obtain the answer she longed for.